Today on the podcast, we're talking about all the key ingredients you need to think about when you want to build a business. But importantly, today we are actually talking about building a business in rural Australia, and I have the perfect guest for you, Ange Taylor. I can't wait for you to hear all her wisdom. Hey, welcome to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, brought to you by socialmediaandmarketing.com.au. Being in business is never easy, but it can be simple, or at least simpler. Join me, your host Jen Donovan, every week where we focus on marketing, social media, and working towards simplifying your business. You with me? Let's do this.
Gonna dream it big, 'cause someone out there listening. Everyone's got a voice to give, and it's time I heard you whistling, 'cause there's no point at all, in dreaming small.
Hey there, my fabulous listener. Welcome to episode 93 of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. Thank you, as always, for lending me your ears today. I know you have lots of choices, and I really do appreciate you making me one of them. If you're a first-time listener, then super welcome to you. And if you're a long-time listener, then hey, welcome back. I'm really glad that you've landed here again to talk to me. I am, of course, the host, Jen Donovan, and it's my job via this podcast, social media, and just about everywhere else that I hang out to make your business life simpler. I'm a thought leader when it comes to marketing here in Australia, and I'm a marketing specialist for small businesses. Why? Because I know that business can be lonely and hard and complicated, and look, it's rarely easy, but with the right people around you and the right team, you can have a business that is at least simple or a little bit simpler. That is, of course, my commitment to you here on the so-named Small Business Made Simple podcast. This episode is actually sponsored by Spend With Us, which can be found at www.spendwithus.com.au. It's an online marketplace supporting rural and regional businesses, or rural and regional small businesses, I should say. So if you're already thinking about your Christmas shopping, or you just want to support rural Australian businesses that have suffered through prolonged drought, last summer's bushfires, and now COVID, then head to spendwithus.com.au. Even if you're just looking for some gift vouchers, you can actually buy site-wide gift vouchers, which means you can support one or two or three of 500 plus small businesses that are on the platform. For corporates or bulk orders with gift cards, you can even get them personalised for free. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you how many sleeps there are till Christmas, because you might turn me off, but whether or not you're already thinking about Christmas shopping or just that special gift for someone, then support rural and shop with Spend With Us at spendwithus.com.au. I'm a little bit excited about today's episode because I have Ange from Country Allure on today. Now, if you haven't heard of Ange Taylor or Country Allure, then you are in for an even bigger delight, because you won't forget her after listening to this episode. Ange is a retailer in rural Queensland, Blackwater, I think, to be specific, and runs a retail business that most people would be so enviable of. Not only is she building a retail empire from the sticks, and yes, I can call it the sticks because I live in the sticks too, but she's someone who gets it. What's it? I guess you might ask. Well, it's business, and she gets business. She gets how to do business, she gets how to run business, and she gets how to build a business. Her quote that you'll hear her say somewhere on this episode towards the middle is, "There is enough sunshine for everybody." And this really just sums up her business philosophy all in one sentence. Ange and Country Allure are part of a movement that I created back in October 2019 called Buy From a Bush Business. It's a Facebook group, and as I'm recording this, it has over 280,000 members. Yup, 280,000 members. And that's how Ange and I met, and I've watched her posts and I've watched her journey a lot during the past year, and I'm super excited that she's going on the podcast today sharing some of her wisdom. I won't make you wait any longer. Here's Ange and her amazing story. And I'm really excited to have you on the podcast today because I think that you run an amazing retail business, but it has such a great story behind it as well. And that's why I wanted you to come on the podcast and share it with you, or with us, I should say. So for those of you on listening to the podcast who might not know who Ange Taylor is, could you give us a bit of a rundown of who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. Firstly, thank you so much for having me on here. I think it's an absolute pleasure. I am Ange Taylor and the owner of Country Allure, which is a women's lifestyle brand based in central Queensland. So we specialise in cowhide leather bags, Western fashion, accessories, and dabble in decor.
Beautiful. So how long have you been running Country Allure for?
So I started Country Allure in February 2017, whilst also working full time as a bit of a hobby on my lounge room floor, which very quickly escalated.
All good businesses start on lounging floors, I reckon.
Absolutely. All good ideas come from a glass of wine.
Oh my God. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, and your store, you do have a physical store in Blackwater, but your store is mainly online, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have a physical store. We started that in 2019. Pretty much I outgrew my house. So I had to go find a premises outside of my house, and we found this beautiful, gorgeous little shop that we could work out of. And I thought, seeing people would be in there packing orders, why not have the doors open? So it made me get a bit creative. I got to decorate and make it look nice and pretty. But as for like online versus our in-store, Blackwater is a fairly small little town and probably makes up maybe 1 to 2% of our sales, and the bulk is online. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So what made you do it? What made you go, like you said, that you had, this was a side hustle for a little while. Had you had retail experience, or what made you take that business building leap?
Look, it was kind of really crazy looking back. I had zero retail experience. I think my only retail experience was working at McDonald's as a teenager, which I think is everyone's first retail job. And then I went to agriculture, where I was a Jillaroo for many years. Then I went to mining. So I was in the mines for many years, and that's how I ended up in Blackwater. And then I guess I always wanted to work for myself. You know how like you always have that dream of running your own show, doing your own thing, being your own boss. But I never thought that I could do it, to be honest. Like I always had looked at other people, admired, you know, self-made people, had always gone, you know, I would love to do that, but never ever thought myself to be someone that could. And the opportunity arose that I was working on a 7-and-7 roster, and my partner was on a Monday to Friday. So I would spend, you know, my whole week off from Monday to Friday, bored endlessly with nothing to do. And, you know, that sort of when e-commerce was taking off, there was so many opportunities, and I started researching, started looking at different things. And then I started thinking, hang on, maybe I could do this, you know, like maybe I could have a crack and, you know, make something of myself per se. So I started researching different things that I could make. You know, like I designed a few t-shirts. I was always good at art. I loved drawing. I loved sketching. And one thing led to another, and it just felt natural to do something with cowhide, because I was, you know, like living in the bush. I loved the outback life. I adored cowhide bags. So that sort of led me on the path, and it just, I guess, organically kept going from there.
Yeah. Okay. So for anyone who's listening who might have a full-time job and a side hustle, what would be your biggest piece of advice to, you know, perhaps make their side hustle their real hustle?
For me, organization was the biggest thing. I was working 13.5-hour shifts, 7 days on, 7 days off, whilst also running the business. So I don't think I looked at my partner for 2 years. As much as he hated it, you know, like I really had to dedicate time in the beginning to build it, which was, you know, answering emails and messages at 10 o'clock at night when I still had to get up at 3:30 in the morning. You know, like I literally, it consumed my life for the first couple of years. And I think to be successful, you really need to have that bit of drive, that bit of grit, and that bit of, you know, and because I was so passionate and I wanted it so bad, it didn't seem as bad. Like, you know, looking back now, I'm like, wow, how did I do that? And so many people used to go, how are you still surviving? You know, like you've had 3 hours sleep for the last 10 days. And I'm like, I'm good, I'm great. You know, like a cup of coffee, we're sweet. And looking back now, I'm like, that is crazy. But without doing that, I don't think I would be anywhere near where I am now. So yeah, definitely my biggest piece of advice is just be committed, be organized. And if you want it bad enough, you will make it happen.
Yeah. I think that passion is where it's got to start, because when the hard gets hard, it's the passion that will get you through. People who start
Absolutely.
businesses that aren't, they're not really passionate about. I think that's where a lot of
Mm,
people, and I don't think businesses fail so much as people burn out. So I think that's where the
absolutely.
burnout happens, because the passion goes away. So yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
great piece of advice. Can I ask you about your online platform? Because well, first of all, I guess the question should be, how did you build your online platform, or what is it built on now? Is it something you've built yourselves, or are you on a like a platform like a Shopify or something like that?
So our like e-commerce store is built through Shopify. So
Yep.
I absolutely love Shopify. I started originally with my business on a different platform called Wix, and it didn't have the same integrations. Like as we grew, it didn't have the right integrations. It wasn't as easy to use. There wasn't the, I guess, service side of things. So we looked at other platforms, and Shopify was the one that came up that integrated with everything, that had everything that we needed. It's user friendly. It comes with a heap of added extras like POS systems. So when we go to events and in our shop, it just made sense. And we've stayed with them for the last 3 years, and it's honestly been the best decision we made was to swap over.
Yeah. Okay. Would you ever go to an open source, like a, one that's made specifically for yourselves? Like, do you find that you will outgrow Shopify?
I think Shopify, I think we're going to find it really hard to outgrow Shopify,
Yep.
because they do have plans set up for different bandwidths to be able to, withhold the traffic, all that sort of stuff. We haven't had too many glitches so far, and we've had, up to a couple of thousand people on our website at one time. And, that's generally what will tell you if it's a good website or not, is once you start getting the traffic. If it crashes, you probably need to look at something, something a bit different, something a bit bigger. And I mean, even some of your biggest businesses like Showpo, Ali, like all those big brands, a lot of them use Shopify as well. So I'm pretty confident that we'll probably stay with them for like a long time, if not ever.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that is a decision. Like when people are going online, Shopify does make it so easy. Personally, I'm prepared to be convinced that Shopify is a great platform as opposed to an open source. But I think people do, get concerned, and there's so many options out there. So I think that's really good. Like even though perhaps Shopify isn't something that I necessarily would think is awesome, I'm not using it. So, it's awesome to
Yeah.
hear it, from someone who's using it well, but also using it in a bigger capacity. So I think that's
Yeah.
really interesting for my retail audience to hear from you. So thank you for being
and
so open
and
and
each
honest.
platform has their benefits, and
Yeah.
it really depends on what you're doing. Like we have a ridiculous amount of SKUs. Like all of our products are one of a kind. People that have big volumes of one product, people that sell prints as opposed to physical products. Depending on what you're selling, different platforms are for different people. And I think for the e-commerce, like the large product-based businesses, Shopify definitely is one of the leaders, if not the leader.
Yeah. So what are some tips that you can give some other business owners, even online retailers, some tips just to help them in their journey at the moment?
Look, I think it's a hard one because it depends where you are in your journey. Like in the beginning, it was about the organization and like just not being able to see the end prize and just still having the grit to keep going, like the not give up bit. And then as we've gotten bigger, it's gotten more about still organization, but like there's financial stuff that comes into it. It's running to a budget, it's being able to forecast, do projections, manage staff. They're as we grow, there's different things and different aspects. But my biggest bit of advice would be just stick to your passion. Like if you are passionate about it And like I said, if you want it bad enough, you will make it happen. You will find the resources. Like, you know, I've been to a couple of business mentor programs. You know, when I struggle in certain things, I find the resources that are going to help me to get through that particular part of my business. So, you know, don't be afraid to ask for help. And don't be afraid, like, I guess don't be afraid in general, because people tend to, as they get bigger, they get scared. They think they can't keep up. I did the same thing. I used to think that no way would my business get to the point that it is now. And now that I'm here, and the next stage is I'm going, oh my God, how am I going to pull that off? But I know I'll do it. I'll find a way, you know, because I want it bad enough.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah. So one of the things that I know that I've seen, so we know each other from my Facebook group, Buy From a Bush Business. And I did see a post in there a few weeks ago that I wanted to have a bit of a chat to you about today. But you did say something that was really important prior to pressing record, because I get to have those really cool conversations. Sorry, audience. Was the fact that, you know, you have got to the point where you're really recognizing that people want to know the person behind your brand. They want to know the person behind Country Allure. So you've started kind of like almost like a side brand to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know for me personally, and we did speak about this before we pressed record, but I find that I'm more inclined to buy from a business or buy from somebody when I know who's in the driver's seat, when I know what their integrity is, what sort of person they are, how they conduct themselves, how they treat other people, you know, and I think there needs to be more of that, you know, as small businesses grow up, as medium businesses grow up and start playing games with the corporate giants. I think that's what's going to set them apart, you know, and I hope as we grow and as we get bigger, that people will learn more about me and about, you know, where I've come from, where I'm going, what I want, what my passions and dreams are. And I want those people that resonate with that to buy from my business. Like I want those like-minded people in our e-commerce.
Yeah. So you've started, I'm not quite sure how much of a side hustle it is, but I know it's got its own Facebook. It's called The Confident CEO.
Yeah. So I toyed with a few different names, and I guess that was the one that made sense to me, because I've always been, I think, a bit more confident on the outside than I am on the inside. I was always that, I guess, boisterous young girl that wasn't afraid to stand up for what I believed in, that wasn't afraid to call people out when they weren't being very nice. And I think it just resonated with me, so I run with it. And on that page, I want to share more about my journey, about where I've come from. And I shared a post in Buy From a Bush Business that got a lot of engagement. And I think it just goes to show that people do want to know. People do like to see people succeeding. You know, as much as there is this tall poppy, the people that want to see people succeed definitely outnumber the people that don't want to see them succeed. And I think, and this is something I've always said, is that there is enough light for everybody to blossom, and there is infinite amount of abundance and, you know, money and things in the world, that if you are the sort of person that thinks putting another person down is going to make you lift higher, then you are running a false dichotomy, because there is more than enough sunshine for everyone. And this is why I am so open about my business journey. I'm so willing to help people. There's a few businesses that I mentor, that I help build their platforms, and I guess learn from my mistakes, because if that's serving my purpose too, because I want to help people, whether it's through the business or through my little side hustle of the Confident CEO.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that there's enough sunshine for everyone. You know, I talk about in my business that, you know, there's enough marketing and social media people for every corner of every street in Australia. Like seriously,
Absolutely,
there are so much, but you know, it's still, and there is enough abundance for everyone. But yeah, I like the sunshine bit. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
A little bit of sunshine.
It's something I wish more people could comprehend. Like, I think people don't really understand it as much as they should. And if you stay in your own lane and you really just work on what you're doing, people from the outside can see that. You know, like I've had people come to me wanting specific products, and I've directed them to my direct competition. You know, like I've sent them to people that I know can do it. they refuse to. They say, no, we want you to do it because we want your brand. Like,
Yep.
you know, and that's what you're building when you're building your brand equity and you're building your following and you're building your social medias and you're letting people in behind the scenes. They get comfortable with you, you know, like it becomes a personal connection where they feel like they know you. And I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what's the goal with the Confident CEO? Why did you decide to do it? Like, what do you hope that other people will see?
I really hope that I can inspire more women that were like me, who I guess didn't have the confidence or didn't have the upbringing. Confidence is probably a bad choice of words, being the confident CEO. But I mean, they didn't have the know-how, you know, like no one in my family was really that successful that I could go, you
So
know,
kind of
look
like
up
a
to.
role model?
Yeah. And I mean, as someone who as a little girl was very self-conscious, who, you know, cared so much about what other people thought of me, you know, like it destroyed my soul for so many years. And so many women are still like that, and it breaks my heart. Like it absolutely breaks my heart that people put so much value on other people's opinions in their own life. Like you literally get one life in a lifetime that you get to live. Like, why is there such a stigma about living it to your full potential? Like that's my aim, is to, I guess, bring more awareness to that and show people that you can absolutely crush it. You can chase your dreams. And that doesn't mean that it makes somebody else feel bad. Like, you know, people don't do it because they're scared it's going to overshadow someone that they know, or, you know, like someone won't like them because they're doing better than them. You know, like this whole, I guess, dichotomy that goes on in people's heads that's just crazy, you know, like, and I just want more women to get out there and chase their dreams and just crush it.
Yeah, I guess the reality is, though, that you will leave people behind. If you are building an empire, if you are building a successful business, your friendships will change. Your relationships with people will change. And I guess it's accepting that that's
Absolutely.
okay, because you know what?
Yeah.
You're going to meet some awesome other people that you wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet along the way had you not decided to, take the bull by the horns and build this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I could not agree more, you know, like, and I like to call it leveling up, you know, every time. And this is why I listen to podcasts and I listen to audiobooks and I read, and, you know, like I reach out to people that I look up to for advice, and I just like to pick people's brains about everything, because it's about leveling up. And the more, I guess, awareness and, I guess, even spiritual awareness and things around that you get about yourself and life and, you know, the future and things that can happen and the infinite amount of possibilities. I guess you do leave people behind, because people, if they're not growing at the rate that you're growing, you are going to outgrow them. And like you said, that's perfectly okay. And it's being able to accept that and understand that it's okay. It's not a fault of you. It's not a fault of them. It's just your paths do not go the same way anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. There was one thing that we were chatting about off air, and that was you getting to the point within your business growth that you are looking now to work more on your business rather than in your business. You have some really key people inside your business that you feel that you can step away a little bit. How has that journey look for you? Was there a certain point where you've gone, yep, okay, so now I can see I have all my ducks in a row. It's time for me to step back and really grow this from working on it rather than in it? Or what did that look like?
Yeah. So just on a whole, this is something people probably don't really understand very well. You can only get to a certain point of growth doing it all yourself. You know, like there's only,
Hallelujah.
yeah, you know, like you're one person, there are only 24 hours in a day. No matter how much you try and stretch that out, you physically can't make it anymore. You know, and this is where people start burning out before they're willing to hire people. And I guess I had a different structure in the beginning, because I still worked full time for 18 months into my business. So I did that for a very long time. I had 4 employees by the time I left my full-time job to step into the business. So in the beginning, I worked on the business and I had people in place that did, I guess, all the nitty-gritty stuff, like the customer service, the packing and sending of orders, the uploading of products. So I started in a place of working on the business, which I think really helped me to now being at this point. So I've spent the last probably 18 months in the business just trying to get structure set up, trying to get processes in place to make things easier. So as we onboard people, it's, we've actually got full processes in place, like a legitimate business, like I like to say. And yeah, so I guess now looking forward to the next 3 to 5 years, and we not long did our strategic plan where I bring in the key players of my business, which is our customer service manager, our product and marketing manager, and our wholesale manager. So those 3 key players and we nut out what the next 12 months looks like. And in projecting that, you can really get to a point where you know what that looks like in 12 months time. And for me, that is stepping more away from being able to work on the strategy, the designs, the like what it looks like on a whole, but I don't physically have to do the doing. I get the people that I employ do the doing, and I just do the outlook of what that looks like, and then obviously oversee all the projects that happen to make sure that they happen to the caliber that I expect. So it's very interesting. A lot of people get so stuck in the day-to-day stuff of packing orders, and then all of a sudden your day's gone, and you get to the end of the day and you're like, shit, what have I done? Like, yeah. And then it's I had a mentor once say to me, it's like flying a plane, right? If you haven't got any direction, or you don't have a map of where you're going, you don't know where you're going to end up. So if you're not doing the planning or the strategy of what that looks like, that you can break back down to quarters, to months, to weeks, to even days. So on this day, I'm going to do these 5 jobs. That when I do those 5 jobs in 5 consecutive days, I'm going to tick off one of the jobs on my list of my quarterly plan. And that's something that we have really started to do really well, and it's really helping us to excel and grow at a rate that is really good. So definitely recommend.
So you've got to, I guess, not have you got to, I'll start that again. So you are doing the bits of your business that you want to do the most. So like if you're stepping back away from the customer service, away from, doing the doing, is that what you want out of your business? You want to be able to do the jobs that you're doing? Is that where your passion is?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I definitely do not have any passion for customer service. I think it takes very strong characters to do that. And I take my hat off to the people that I have in place here that look after customer service. And like, there's a whole heap of sectors that I literally have zero interest in, but they're absolutely necessary to run a business. So my biggest passion is in designing. So I do like all the web design, I do all the marketing design, I do all the bag designs, all the clothing designs, and that pretty much takes up most of my time. But that is where my passion lies, like with me and my sketchbook, or me on my design programs on the computer, and just nutting it out.
Yeah. And I guess that was kind of the emphasis I wanted to put on that little part of the conversation was, starting with that end in mind. If that's what you are passionate about, then that's what you would work towards working on in your business.
Yeah.
Like if anyone's listening and their passion is, serving the customers and having that interaction with them every day, then, that's okay as well. Not everyone, you need to do what you want to do inside the business. We started our own businesses for a reason, and that is to do what we are most passionate about. And I think some people even get lost in that. They hear, all these different versions of what they should be doing. And they at the end of the day, they're not actually doing the passionate bits of why they started the business in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think something that we did that really benefited the company on a whole is we sat down and we did personality profiles. So this is something a lot of people I think are blasé to and don't really put any attention on, but it's so important. So how you might have a conversation with someone and you're like, oh, I really don't like her, like your grains don't match, and you'll find that you and that person are 2 completely different personalities, right? So neither one are malice towards each other, like neither one are trying to be mean or trying to be nasty. It's just 2 different communication styles and 2 different personalities. So one thing we did in our company is we went through and we did personality profiles of all the employees. So we know then how to best position them in the company to bloom, so that they know well, not so that they know, so that they are doing jobs that they enjoy doing, right? Like, and a lot of people, depending on their personality, won't tell you what they like to do, or they won't tell you that they don't like it. They'll just keep doing it until they get to the point where they want to explode, or they lash out, or, you know, because they're don't have the communication style to go, hey, I hate this.
Yeah.
Or B, they don't have the personality that have the confidence to be able to say that. So it sort of took away the guesswork, where we actually sat down, and it really made us as a team and as a culture come together so much better, because the girls then understood that, you know, that person doesn't do that job because they, you know, are doing it on purpose to piss someone off. They genuinely, legitimately don't have the patience to sit there and sift through and tick, you know, like, they're not a processes person, you know, that physically isn't something that they can do without driving themselves crazy. And that was honestly the most beneficial thing as a company that's growing. And once you start getting a heap of different personalities and a heap of different people with different communication styles, so important. And it has been so integral to our growth again.
Yeah, and I hear that a lot from, you know, people that you know, in growth phases, that, you know, this learning, and I think communication is probably the biggest thing that I hear about, you know, learning how someone wants to be communicated. And especially if, you know, you've got teams that aren't physically together, like, you know, maybe an offshore team, or, you know, like a VA, or a team that just lives in different parts of our beautiful country. I think, you know, learning how to communicate with them and how they want to be communicated, you know, can really bring down a lot of the stress levels.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's even knowing how to reward people, you know, like, some people like rewards that are, you know, just a hug. You've done an awesome job. Or some people like a monetary, you know, here's a 10% bonus because you crushed it this quarter, you know, like, everyone has different things that make them continue to feel good. And it's all about the culture. And especially in my business, like, 100% of what I do is about culture. Like, I don't care how well people perform. I mean, I do to a degree. You can't be blasé. But when you get to the high level, you really have to choose, and it's either money or culture. So you have to choose culture over money, which is what I do, which means I will happily lose a sale to maintain the culture of the company. If you know what I mean? Like, if a customer is abusing one of my staff and making them feel like shit, and, you know, like, it's detrimental to our like ecosystem, I will lose that sale. Like, I've even you know, fired people in the business because they didn't match the culture. You know, like, they made other people feel uncomfortable working with them. You know, and this particular person was a good performer. You know, they made money, they did all the right things, but they were toxic to the culture of the other people. So, you know, they were performing well, but everyone around them wasn't. So, you know, it's making those hard decisions to keep that culture 100%. Otherwise, you know, then you've chosen money, and we all know what happens when you choose money over everything. Growth is never the answer.
No, well, no. We often see those businesses on the news. But anyway.
Absolutely.
So the personality thing that you did, I'm sure that my audience has probably been listening to this and a little bit curious. Is that something you employed someone to come in and do for your office? Or did you just kind of get a template and go ahead and sort of implement it yourself? Or was it like a bit of a strategy session you had someone help you with?
So the way we did it, and I did it this way because I had already done it in a mastermind sessions with a mentor group that I was a part of. So I had a pretty good idea of how to read them, you know, how it all worked and whatnot. But like, if you have literally zero idea about it, definitely I would bring someone in who is qualified and knows what they're talking about, because it's so easy to read it wrong, and then you're really not going to get any value out of it. So because I already had the knowledge, we just went online, and the one we did was called the DISC profile, DISC. Yeah. So, and it was very interesting because they say if you can get all 4 quadrants, so the DIS and the C, into the core of your business, that'll create very successful business because you're not really lacking on anything. And it was super interesting when we got myself and the 3 core players, and we were literally 1 in each quadrant. So, you know, and we sort of sat back and we said, well, that's why we work so well together, you know, like that's why everything seems to just flow so perfectly, and yeah, it was brilliant.
Yeah, beautiful. So you've had a fairly well, from the outside looking in, a quite a smooth journey to where you are. Perhaps there's been some bumps along the road, or I guess with most businesses there are. But is there anything you'd change if you had to do it all again?
No, absolutely not. Like, I literally wouldn't change anything, because even the hiccups and even the things that have gone wrong have taught me so much more than I've lost. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't change a thing. And I'm open to failure. Like, I love failure, because if you hit failure, that means you've pushed it to the capacity that it can go to, and then you know your limits, right? Like, that's how I view failure. And with every failure is a lesson to learn, and I always try and find a lesson to lessen the failure, because generally if you find what you're supposed to learn, you can then just move on to the next.
Yeah, no, that's so good. Fail faster and look for the lessons. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. So what's next for Country Allure or the Confident CEO?
Well, we've actually got some really cool things in the pipeline for Country Allure, backed by the Confident CEO. So 2021, on our forecast, we will be starting a podcast, which will be under the Confident CEO. And we'll also be, hopefully, if we can pull it off, a magazine that goes with that. So we are wanting to really focus it towards building people up to, maybe sharing a lot of stories of hardship to prove that, these things can be overcome. People that maybe aren't in the best mindsets can see that there's light on the other side. We really want to do a lot of work with mental health. It's a massive issue in a lot of women, and especially in business, that I don't think gets enough light. And another little one with Country Allure, sort of this time next year, we'll be looking to release our men's range. So that's exciting too.
Wow. Yeah, that is
bigger
very
and better.
exciting. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Ange, for sharing all your wisdom. I know it's been a very retail-focused podcast for anyone who's out there who's in a service-based business, but I know that there are just pieces of wisdom in here that we've had a chat about that relate to any business, service, retail, whatever business you're actually in. So I really am thankful that you've taken the time out today and had a bit of a chat with us.
You're so welcome, Jen. And like I said before, it's an absolute pleasure to be on here. And to anyone listening, go out and crush your dreams, because the only one that's going to limit you is yourself. Just do it.
Wow, what beautiful parting words, Ange. Thank you. Now, how can people get in contact? Where's the best place to look up who you are, what you do, and find all your beautiful things, including some pretty awesome boots, if I do say so myself?
Oh, thank you. You can find us on both Facebook and Instagram under either Country Allure or myself, the _Confident CEO. And you can find us at www.countryallure.com.
Beautiful. Thanks, Ange, so much for sharing with us today. All the best. Can't wait to see, all the things you have in the pipeline for 2021.
See you later.
Isn't Ange inspiring? Look, I absolutely think she is so inspiring, and I loved our chat, both online that you heard and also offline as well. It's one of the privileges of doing your own podcast is you get to chat to people even longer offline. The show notes have all her contact details for both Country Allure and the Confident CEO, and you can find them, of course, at the show notes, which live at social media and marketing.com.au/93. But that's all for episode 93. I'd love your thoughts. And if you've got questions, head into Like-Minded Business Owners, the Facebook group, and ask away. Or, of course, you can always send me a DM on Instagram. If you're not a member of the Like-Minded Business Owners community, then hey, why don't you go and join up? Just go to Facebook and search Like-Minded Business Owners. I'll, of course, be back next Thursday with another great episode to help you simplify your business in 2020. If you're enjoying this podcast, and hey, you've listened this far, so hopefully you have enjoyed it, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share this episode with another superstar business owner who's doing the daily grind and would really appreciate someone making their business life simpler. Or maybe you just loved Ange so much you just want to share her story with other business owners as well. I really want to just have a bit of a shout out to Christine and Monique from Test Driving 50 who left me an amazing review in Apple Podcasts. It said, "Thanks, Jen, for these great podcasts. We are a pair of mature ladies who are having so much fun creating our brand on Instagram and learning how to build and connect an authentic tribe. We've learned a lot through your podcast and loved the one about Instagram with Stacey, so keep them coming. Big thanks, Christine and Monique from Test Driving 50. You can follow Christine and Monique over on Instagram at Test Driving 50. Anyway, that is all for episode 93. See you next week for episode 94. In the meantime, let's hang out and get social on social. But whatever you do, my small business peeps, remember, as my opening song says, there is no point in dreaming small.
Say it proud, be true, and let us see you for the star that you are. No point in dreaming small.